So hey there guys, Gammy RC again. It's been a while since I've posted anything RC related or anything at all really, but I'm back, hopefully for a little while, we'll see. In any case, wanted to show you guys this new chassis that I put together with the guys up in Furitek, and designed it specifically for their Komodo motor. As you guys already know, this is their, bread and butter pretty much when it comes to SCX24 motor packages. This is the strongest motor, strongest controllable motor that you could put on the SCX24 right now. It gets you the best low-end control, and it gets you speed. If you get enough, if you get the right gear ratio, you get the right battery on it. It's a really good motor. But they needed something that was like special for it, so that's where this comes in. I've been trying for like the longest time to make a chassis that was strong enough that you could really abuse it as much as you like, and they were kind enough to pretty much provide me with the equipment that could actually make this. I mean, I designed, they bake it, and here it is. This is their new chassis, and like I said, designed for the new motor. It's a very simple design in the parts that it has, but it functions very well compared to other chassis that I've made. So you can see right here, it has the lid that you could just open, and that's the top, and those little clips, they hang on right here. They just clip on, and it keeps everything in place so it doesn't come out. Just push it out, and this will be the battery tray. The reason the battery tray is in the back, obvious reasons. This motor is going to be facing forward because this is the heaviest part of the build pretty much. So you want to put this motor facing forward so that the vehicle wants to come forward instead of falling back. Let's see, where do I have the other one? Somewhere in there. In any case, that I want to see why, because obviously this would be the stock motor on the SCX24. As you can see, the size difference is it's quite big. But you guys already know this is an amazing motor, so that's why we're doing this with this motor. The way that it sits in the chassis, see, we'll just clip that in there, just like so. That explains this hump that I put in the front, so that the motor clears the chassis itself and is protected from anything that might be able to hit it when it's turning. Turn that in there, and that's the chassis with the motor and transmission in there. Now, Furitek does also provide plastic motor mount if you don't want to go with the aluminum. That also lowers the center of gravity on the vehicle because it doesn't add the extra weight that the aluminum mount adds to the vehicle. You could also, instead of running the aluminum transmission, you could do the plastic, which is also lighter. This is just a race to get to the lowest center of gravity possible and get the most performance out of the vehicle. If you're not too concerned with that, then do everything aluminum. It looks really nice, and it still performs pretty well. I'll go ahead and put this on the side here. Now, to kind of give you an idea of what we're working with here, I'm gonna go ahead and turn this little guy on. We'll zero that out. Full chassis. Let me see if I can do it to where it stays on top. About 29.6 grams. There you go. 29.6 grams on this chassis. So that's not a whole lot when you consider that it's all aluminum and it's got the battery tray and top and everything. So it's not really a heavy chassis, and because it brings everything so far down, It will perform much better than stock chassis would, and pretty much a whole lot of other chassis that are out there right now. The battery tray is obviously designed for the stock battery to fit in there. You will use the Lizard ESC from Furitek. Just, double-sided tape, put it right in there, close it up. She'll be nice and safe there with the battery down here. If you were to use a smaller battery, like for example, I like to use these. These take up a lot less room, so it brings the center of gravity even lower. If you're actually going to compete, then I would suggest using something even smaller than that, something like this. That's the Carnegie Nanotech 7.4 volt battery. It's 260 milliamp hour, and that'll definitely give you a whole lot of extra room in there. The reason I keep saying extra room is because you could put Furitek's little monitor up in there, and it fits just right, especially if you use the smaller batteries. See, that one will still fit in there, and you still have, the whole chassis with the lower center of gravity, having that battery so far down, and then the motor up in the front. The other thing about this chassis is that it has, oh wait, I forgot. Did I just take that out? Alright, so let's go ahead and screw this in here, because I did not tighten this up. I don't like to edit my videos. I like you to see the times that I mess up on a video. So we'll put that guy back in there. Should probably tighten him up. There you go. So another thing about this chassis that I'm sure you guys noticed is that the skid plate is tilted to where the rear is a little bit higher than the front. That combined with some high clearance links will give you a lot more room to be able to cross difficult terrains, instead of having just a straight links from the stock deadbolt. So I suggest that if you do get this chassis, go ahead and do that modification, make your own link, and make it a high clearance link, and you'll be able to take advantage of that. Also, having it facing this way brings the motor forward and tilts it down a little bit, bringing the center of gravity even lower and making the weight kind of forward biased, so that when you're crawling, it's always going to want to come forward. And it helps a lot to be able to put more weight on those front axles to be able to climb over things. Holes for their shocks. I went ahead and decided to make these 2 millimeters. I understand that the stock shocks have a 1.4 millimeter bolt in there, but decided that, to be honest, when you are going to compete and you're going to abuse this chassis, which is the reason why we made it aluminum, you're going to want to have something stronger than that 1.4 millimeter shock bolts. You want to upgrade to shocks that are going to have the 2 millimeter bolts, so that they don't snap. A lot of people complained, and even myself, that the stock bolts on the shocks, they do snap on the top here, and if we were to make this to where it was threaded and you will put those in there, that will snap, and it will be extremely hard to get out of the holes, and you would end up messing up the chassis. So for now, we're going with the 2 millimeter bolts. You can still put the stock ones in there as long as you put a nut behind it. It'll still hold it in place, no problem. But this is built for you to be able to make the best competition crawler. So you wanted to make it as strong as you possibly can. Also, it's got these funky looking holes, like that one right there that's not lined up with these, and it has this one right here, and then all of these back here. There is a reason for those. Those holes are actually used for you to be able to use your stock body on it. So what you do, there's a lot of competitions that require you to use all stocks electronics and all that good stuff. So if they allow you to have aftermarket chassis rails, then you'll be able to run it this way. That stock battery placement, stock ESC placement, same thing with the transmission, everything will go in place. Has the hinge mechanism in the back, that's what those holes are for. So everything that goes from stock will go on this chassis as well, except that you get away with having the tilted skid plate. So everything will fall in place just like that, and you have your stock-ish SCX24 back in place. And you know, you still get the advantage of the better articulation that you'll get with the placement of the shocks, and also if they allow you to have the links with the high clearance, you can make that happen as well. And also, if you're wanting to use a body on top of the chassis and you're not limited by any rules, you can take this off and still run the low center of gravity battery tray, because that could go in there no problem. Same thing. See how that one goes from here to here, so that battery tray will run from there to there, and you'll be able to lower that battery all the way down here. And the placement of this plate is at full compression, and it does not interfere with your links or drive shafts or anything, so that is, you know, as low as you want to go without having any kind of interference. So you can do that on this one as well. That's another option that I wanted to make sure to put on the chassis, because you know, there's some people that want to do that, so might as well give you that option as well. Of course, I wanted to incorporate all of that into the chassis, but still keep it to where it was pleasing to the eye. Didn't want to make it, you know, like a funky looking chassis. I wanted it to look nice. I know a lot of people complain about, you know, chassis like these. This is Venom. Has pretty much the same footprint as this one, and they're about the same width. And there's a reason for that. I tend to make a lot of my chassis close to what this, you know, footprint is, because I have found that is a really good size for a 1/24 scale. It allows you to perform better, and it doesn't give you the problem of actually, you know, catching on rocks on the side of the body. I mean, you are as narrow as that skid plate is, and it keeps everything, you know, nice and tucked in. You should never have to worry about your chassis being the limiting factor when you're crawling. You know, that should be completely out of the way, and you know, not even have to worry about it at all. So that's why I make these this size and not just, you know, full width like the 1-to-1 versions, you know, size versions will be. Because then if you do that, you end up with this, where you have a lot of material that's sticking out of the chassis that could get caught on rocks or pretty much anything that gets in the way. So that's why I make them, you know, to this size. So you will get a lot better performance using this chassis. Like you saw, it's really lightweight. It seems like it wouldn't be, but the aluminum is nice and narrow. It's nice and narrow, and it has a lot of holes through it, which one help you with the shock placement, but also makes the weight of the chassis a lot lower. And of course, that's why this big hole here. So that's the way that it is as of right now. There is other options that may come in the future, like the longer battery tray. This battery tray runs from the original spot of that battery tray to the back, and it gives you a lot more room to put other kind of things in there. So, you know, if that's what you require, then that may come a little bit later. We're still deciding whether we want to put that one out or not. Also, Furitek, they're really good at listening to customers. So, you know, if you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, let them know, you know, because they do listen. They do try and do their best to kind of keep everybody happy and offer, you know, the best product they can. So go ahead and do that. Let them know what you like. Right now, they're really pushing for people to tell them colors, color combinations, because they want to offer many different colors for everybody, different varieties. But you know, if you have any other suggestions or questions, let them know. You know, they're real good at that. Even with for example, the hole size on the shocks locations, if there is enough people that would rather have the stock hole size for the stock shocks, which, like I said, I don't suggest because they snap and it's just a pain. Let them know, and maybe they can do like another version where the holes are the stock size, and that'll work. Even though, like I said, you can still use the stock shocks on this, just have a nut in the back to hold them, and they're not gonna wiggle around, nothing. So those are little suggestions you can let them know. Like I said, they work with everybody. Hopefully in the next couple days I'll make a few running videos and show you guys what it can do. Articulation, obviously, is gonna be whatever you want it to be, because you can really tweak these chassis being as narrow as they are. You play with the shocks, the length, the limiting how much they travel, or allowing them to go more, even with the link length. You can make them do all kinds of crazy things. So we'll see where we go with that. But pretty much, if you're going to get this chassis, just do it knowing that you're going to want to do more things to it. It will run with the stock shocks, it will run with the stock links, but if you really want to maximize what you can do with it, make your own links, make your own link lengths, whatever works best for you. Swap the shocks for some better performing shocks, and you're really gonna wake up this chassis and make it do some really incredible things. I keep saying make your own links, and a lot of people always ask me, but how? You could buy the links outside, the deadbolt, because that's using deadbolt links, link lengths. But what I suggest is, instead of that, get yourself some threaded rods. This is a M2 threaded rod, and then you can use rod ends. If you want to go with metal rod ends, there's a lot of different companies that sell these for the SCX24, and all you really need is the rod ends. Why not the actual rod itself, the link itself? Well, these, I have found that being as fat as they are, they're not really all that good for a lot of different situations. So I don't like these anymore. I just make my own links with these and then use the rod ends on them. The good thing about these, they bring the nut, so you can pretty much set them at whatever distance you want, and just cut into size, and then that you have your link. You could also then, after that, just bend it, and you could get yourself your high clearance links, however you want to make the angles. Then on top of that, if you wanted to use your stock ones, you can use your stock links. Just cut them off at the line, drill a hole through them, and you'll be able to run this in there and thread it in there, because it's plastic, it'll go in. This is just a brass cover, which are these right here. You can get these like at Hobby Lobby. They have these, and they're just 1/8 by 0.14 brass tube. Very simple. Just cut them to size. After you have your link length, whatever length it is, cut them to whatever size it is after it's threaded in, from there to there, and there you have yourself a link. When you do it that way, you don't really need the nuts. You can just do it till it stops at whatever the length it was that you had. But if you wanna, if you're somebody like me that has to do so many changes so often, what I end up doing is just leaving the threaded rod by itself. It looks kind of funny because it's really skinny for a link, but it allows me to go back and forth and stretch the wheelbase and make it smaller, and that way I can play with it long enough to where I can get the right length for what I need, and then I can cut these to whatever that length is, and I'll have really nice looking links for the vehicle. That's one thing that you want to keep in mind when you're coming up to this level with your chassis and your rigs. You're gonna want to make a lot of things different sizes, different lengths, because every single time you go to a competition, there's gonna be different obstacles you're gonna have to tackle, and unless they have limitations on your wheelbase and things like that, then you can always take advantage of having different link lengths to match whatever the obstacles are in that particular course. And just kind of get to know your rig, get to know what it's capable of and what changes you can make to it. Don't just get stuck on one thing and expect it to be the best, because there's always something better you can do with it. This is just the base of what you start with. Everything after this you can make better. Even the motor, Furitek is working on making a smaller one for later on that we could throw in there. If you really want to bring down the center of gravity, just know that it, of course, it's not going to be as strong as a Komodo, but it'll be extremely comfortable to ride in. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. See you later.